Yeah, I just stopped underneath this little shady thing here someone built out of bamboo just because the sun is so hot. And I came across a new fruit. Check these guys out. Again, I don't think I could even tell you what they are. Yeah, very hard on the outside. So, off we go down the canal. By the way, seeing Gemma Chan in Crazy Rich Asians made me interested in Humans again. So I'm sort of in the middle of rewatching Humans. Season 1 of Humans is amazing. It's a great television. Really worth watching. Season 2, you know, it continues the story, and the story gets a whole lot bigger, which, I don't know, it doesn't seem to have the same drive and the same level of interest for me as Season 1. But Season 3 I've never seen. So I'm sort of rewatching Seasons 1 and 2 just so I have the story straight in my head. So when I watch Season 3, you know, I'm up to speed. So yeah, I have high hopes for Season 3 of Humans. It's interesting to see all the sides of the canal, all the sections of the canal from a different side now, because I was walking along over there before. Just to complete my media summary roundup, in the last video, I think it was the last one, I was talking about time loop movies, and that got me interested in, you know, seeing more time loop movies, and I tracked down a couple that I'd never seen before. One was a comedy called Naked, starring, what's his name, Marlon Wayans, and, you know, it's about what you'd expect. It's a time loop movie, except it's not a whole day that loops. He actually loops within 1 hour. He gets to 1 hour and then bang, he's right back where he started from. So his time loop is much shorter, so he doesn't have as much opportunity, you know, to grow and become a better person, but he does manage it. And the movie's called Naked because his hour, his time loop hour, begins with him completely naked, sleeping in an elevator at a hotel. So every time his loop kicks in and starts over, he finds himself back in that elevator naked, and from there, of course, he has to learn to navigate his situation and solve the puzzle and break out of his time loop. Not a great movie, you know, it is what it is. A guy wakes up naked in an elevator. You know, you can guess what kind of movie it is. It's just kind of loopy and crazy and nutty, and they don't pay a whole lot of attention to precise details or character development, you know. It's just a fun, goofy film. The other one was kind of a stark opposite. It was called, I think, Before I Fall. Another time loop movie. More of a YA, like young adult version. You know, the girl who's in a time loop is in high school, and she's a member of the Mean Girls clique, and they're really evil and nasty to the other girls in their high school. You know, your typical Mean Girls situation. And she has to relive the same day over and over and over again and figure out how to escape from the time loop. And of course, it involves not being a mean girl anymore, you know, gaining some sympathy and some empathy for people around her and learning to be a better person. And the movie has a bit of a dark tone for a young adult movie. Quite a bit darker than I expected. Again, I mean, it was okay. Not one of my favorite movies, but if you're looking for time loop movies, you know, you can add it to your collection. Before I Fall. It looks like I'm almost all the way back at the main street again. That's something I've noticed about, you know, going out, wandering around and exploring, or even back in the days when I was riding my bike, when I deserved the name the Cycling Canadian. The thing is that when you go somewhere the first time, it feels like you've covered a long distance, it feels like a long journey. And then when you turn around and come back along the same path, you seem to cover it really, really fast. It's like, so when I was walking out on this canal on the way out, I thought I had gone a long, long ways, but here I've turned around and boom, I'm already back at the beginning again. So yeah, it just feels different returning than heading out. The return always seems to go much faster than the original journey. Places like this kind of remind me of my childhood in Canada. This is an area, that formed inside a loop, a loop of the river. And yeah, back in my day, as a young boy growing up in Canada, this would have been prime hanging out territory. I mean, we would have been in here every day, digging holes, building forts underground, building tree forts, throwing knives at trees, practicing our knife throwing, and on and on and on, climbing that tree over there. And of course, we'd be on our bikes and our skateboards, going up and down the side of the river all day, every day. This would have been our playground. But you don't generally see a whole lot of that going on in Southeast Asia. And maybe you don't see it anymore in Canada either. I don't get the sense that kids have nearly as much freedom to go out exploring and living their own lives as they did when I was young. I think about that quite a bit because in some of the podcasts I listen to, they talk a lot about their kids and raising kids and things like that. And it just sounds so foreign to me. As anyone else my age can relate to this, I'm sure. When I was a kid, especially, on the weekend, you wake up Saturday morning, boom, you're out the door, you're on your bike, you ride to your, neighbor's house, knock on the door, can Billy come out to play? And then Billy joins you, and then Clarence, and then you all get together on your bikes, and you're gone for the whole day, riding your bikes around the city, going to the river, going to the beach, fishing in the creeks, building ramps to jump on your bikes, getting into trouble now and again, and then at the end of the day, you ride your bikes home, and your mother had no idea where you were all day long, what you were up to. And on a weeknight, all you wanted to do was get outside the house and go meet with your friends. And then when it gets dark, when the street lights turn on, then it's time to go home. But these days, apparently, life isn't like that anymore. Kids just don't go anywhere on their own. I've stopped because I've reached another, it's not a jungle barrier, but I got to push through some foliage here. This is what is blocking my way. Oh, I forgot about this. On this side, it also ends. Oh no. That's where I want to be, over there. But no, I can't go there. And there is no way out. There is no way to go. I totally forgot about this. I should have remembered because that's where my journey started. I think I have to go all the way back to the beginning. I don't remember any shortcuts. I don't think I can get out of here without going all the way back to the beginning. But like I said, it's not nearly as far as I thought it was. One thing about scrambling through even little bits of jungle like this, you realize just how rough it can be on your body. I've got this section on my arm here where I had to push through some branches, and you can see, how badly it's scraped up my arm, and there's like a real allergic reaction going on there just to touching these vines. I often think about that too, when I think about early explorers, especially. I remember in the days when I was exploring Taiwan, on my scooter, going deep into the mountains. And when you're following the road, everything is great. You're just driving along the road. But if you stop and look at what is beside the road and try to imagine a time when the road didn't exist and you had to walk through that thick jungle, how would you do it? I mean, it would be almost impossible to work your way through that kind of dense undergrowth. So it always makes me think back to pre-road building days. What was it like? How in the world can anybody get anywhere? Even this little jungly area here, I'm walking along a path and my arm ends up getting kind of scratched up and torn to bits. All right, making my way back along the canal. To complete my media roundup, I also watched recently the TV series Dead to Me. It's kind of a dark comedy starring Christina Applegate and Linda Cardellini. I'm sure people from Canada and the US, you remember Christina Applegate from Married with Children. She was the daughter in Married with Children. Yeah, she's quite a good actress in her own right and apparently an amazing dancer. I guess she's a dancer in addition to being an actor. And of course, in the show Dead to Me, they made sure to include 1 or 2 scenes where she could show off her dancing skills. Yeah, it's quite something. And Linda Cardellini, you may not recognize that name off the top of your head, but she was a star of the cult classic Freaks and Geeks. And that's probably where you know her from, Freaks and Geeks. Quite a good show, of course. Canceled after 1 season, I think. And unfortunately, Dead to Me has also been canceled, I just read. And I was reading an interesting article about why it is that so many really good shows get canceled these days after just 1 season or something like that. I mean, they're obviously really high quality programs, and yet they get canceled. And this article pointed out that is because of streaming services and their subscription base for making money. If the show was on TV with normal advertising to make money, then they would probably make season 2 and season 3 and season 4. They'd make more seasons because they would still get the advertising revenue. But streaming services like HBO and Showtime and Netflix, what they want are new subscribers. That's their goal. New subscribers to their service is how they make a lot of their money, or perhaps most of their money. And the way you get new subscribers is by introducing new shows. So they could do season 2 of Dead to Me, and all the people already subscribed to the service would really like it and they'd watch the show. But season 2 of a show does not attract new subscribers. So even though the show is really good and really popular, they cancel it anyway, just so that they can introduce a new show. And introducing a brand new show will actually get new subscribers to sign up for their service. When you think about it, yeah, it's really quite logical. And it explains why they're so willing to cancel shows, even when they're good, because they're not really looking for viewers, they're looking for new subscribers. And to get new subscribers, they need new TV shows. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know how well this will show up on the GoPro, but I was just passing these flowers, and you can see that they're very popular with these hornets or wasps or whatever they are. Clouds of them going from flower to flower. And these flowers are right near this road where I can cross over to the other side and then make my way back. As I said, it's not a big deal backtracking like this. I thought I'd walked a really long distance, but I really hadn't at all. So just coming back here and then returning back along the other side. Yeah, it's no big deal. One thing that strikes me about walking around Mesot is kind of the lack of people, you know? Where are they? I mean, I know if I go to the market area, the big public market, there's tons of people there normally. But here, out on the street, just walking by all these houses, walking along the canal, I don't see hardly any people at all. Feels quite empty for the most part. And yet I know there's lots of people here. But where are they? I guess obviously they're inside, staying out of the heat for the most part. Or I guess, you know, they're at work or at school. Since it is a Thursday. Perhaps one last movie and TV show related thought as I walk along the canal. This is something I think about all the time. I actually have a huge list of these topics. I could do an entire series of videos about just this. But this one in particular jumped out at me when I was watching Crazy Rich Asians. And I've seen it in movie after movie after movie. Every single TV show does it as well. And it always rings false to me because, yeah, it just rings false. It doesn't seem realistic in any way. But I'm curious whether it really is false or whether the world has changed. Kind of relates to what I was talking about before, about how the nature of childhood seems to have changed. Anyway, in Crazy Rich Asians, there's a scene between Astrid, you know, played by Gemma Chan, you know, the woman so beautiful that she doesn't seem real, and her husband Michael. And of course, the classic complaint against her husband, against Michael, is that he is an absent father. You know, he's not around. And the big accusation that she brings up is that he wasn't even there for his son's birthday party. You know, he was off on a business trip and he missed his son's birthday party. And if you pay attention to movies and TV shows, this is the biggest crime any man can commit in history, is to miss his child's birthday party. And you see in all these, Jim Carrey in Liar, Liar. I remember this long drawn out scene where Jim Carrey's son was, accusing him of not being there for his birthday party, and not bringing him a present for his birthday. And you see this over and over again in movies. The kid is crying because, oh, where's daddy? Why isn't daddy here for my birthday party? I've seen it a million times. Okay, I was a kid. I had birthday parties. I didn't care whether my dad was there. Never occurred to me to even want my father to be there. He was an adult. He was this big adult that I barely understood. He was out there doing dad things. I didn't worry about his life. I wanted my friends to come over, right? So my friends came over for my birthday party and we played birthday games and we had birthday cake and that kind of thing. And my mother was there because she organized the party, but she was there just because she had set it up. She wasn't really part of the party either. So in my entire life, never even occurred to me whether my father was at my birthday party or not. Why would I even want him there? He was in another world entirely. No, nothing wrong with that. He was a great father, a great guy. But I didn't want him at my party. I was a kid. I wanted my friends at my party. No kid wants adults at their parties. They want to hang out with their friends, right? And yet, so where does this scene come from in movies where daddy missing the birthday party is like the end of the world? I've never really understood that. Like I said, maybe the world has changed and kids expect their fathers to be at their birthday party. But anyway, for me as a kid, I never cared. I think when I was a kid, my father could have disappeared for a month, and it would have taken me a long time to even notice that he was gone. I lived in my own world. I lived in the kids' world, went out exploring with my friends when I didn't have my nose in a book. I had my own life. I had my own concerns. My dad went to work every day. He came home and went to work the next day. And, if he didn't come home for a month, it would probably take me a while to even realize it. It's like, oh, where is that guy? Where is that old guy that lives in this house with us, So, just one of these things in movies that never makes any sense to me, that this kid would be devastated that his father didn't make it to his birthday party. Personally, if my father showed up at my birthday parties as a kid, I would have been kind of annoyed. It's like, why are you here? I'm here to hang out with my friends. Anyway, different times perhaps. Either that or Hollywood is creating myths that have nothing to do with reality. Another bit of nature here, some flowers, with a bunch of butterflies from the same species. So you can't really see it on the GoPro either, but there's one of the butterflies there. And since I'm on the topic, another thing they do in movies and TV shows all the time, which always bugs me, they have the same scene where somebody, usually a teenager or it doesn't have to be a teenager, it can be anybody, they're in their house, they're coming downstairs from their bedroom, and they're on their way to school or to work or wherever they're going. And then when they get to the kitchen, there's always somebody in the kitchen who has prepared an amazing breakfast for them. The table is laid out, there's pancakes and there's waffles and there's scrambled eggs and there's fruit all chopped up and there's coffee ready, all this kind of stuff. And then they say to this teenager or whoever it is, hey, breakfast is ready. And this person, instead of sitting down and enjoying this amazing breakfast that somebody else prepared, they just say, no, thank you. I'll grab something on the way to work. I'll grab a muffin at school. And they just sail out the front door and they're gone. And this scene always bugs me because, trust me, if I wake up and someone has made a delicious breakfast for me, I'm sitting down and I'm enjoying that breakfast. Because wow, someone made breakfast. That would be so amazing. I would just be so delighted and so happy, and I would sit down and enjoy that breakfast because I would want to. Fighting through the jungle. But also, it would be rude not to. Can you imagine a real person, bounding down the steps from their bedroom, their mother or their father, whoever, says, oh, yeah, breakfast is ready. And then you just walk right past them and just say, no thanks, and go out the door. If I were the mother and father, I'd be a little bit upset. So, young lady, young man, you get back in here, you sit down. I made this breakfast for you. You're going to have breakfast with the family. Anyway, this scene in movies and TV shows also never makes any sense to me. Why would anyone turn down this breakfast? And then even if they did, how come nobody's upset about it? It always seems like such a weird scene. And it kind of goes with lunches as well. Like they always prepare, ooh, got somebody here hunting something in the river. It's got like a homemade gun. But upon closer inspection, I don't think it was a gun. It looked more like a weird crossbow style fishing rod, which makes a lot more sense. He's there fishing, not about to. Because as I was walking up on the guy, what I thought was a gun, was like pointing directly at my chest, and I thought, oh, that's not safe. But it was just attached to some fishing line. Anyway, the other thing I was saying is you see the same scene played out where the mother or father has prepared lunch for the kid who's going off to school. And then they say, oh, don't forget your lunch. And they hold out, the bag containing this, beautifully and lovingly prepared lunch. And the kid will just say, I'll just buy something at school. And they sail out the door. Again, in my world, that's never going to happen. You've made lunch for me? Man, you're getting a big hug and a kiss on the cheek and a thank you, and I'm taking that lunch. It's like, score, someone made me a delicious lunch. Why wouldn't you take the lunch that someone made for you? Yet in these movies, nobody ever takes them. And then even if you don't take the lunch, why isn't your mother or father upset with you? Like, I went to all the effort to make you this lunch, and then you just blow me off and say you're going to buy it at school? But as I said, I've seen that scene 1,000 times in movies and TV shows. It's like every scriptwriter in Hollywood, for whatever reason, they're fixated on this idea of someone being so busy or something that they just blow through the kitchen and they don't have the breakfast or take the lunch. Never understood it, but I guess that's the Hollywood version of reality, I guess. I am back at this section of the journey where I've got to carefully make my way across this gap. And this is where the royal toilet is sitting there I just call it royal because it's sitting there in the middle, proudly in the middle of nowhere. And I just got to carefully make my way across. Nice tree. Works as a nice handhold to get across the gap. And here we are, right back, almost at the beginning of our walk. One more movie oddity or TV show oddity that always annoys me. I think I saw it in a couple of shows I've been watching recently. It's like a Hollywood script writer's rule that if a family's pet dog or any dog appears in any show at any time, it must whine. The dog always whines. Pay attention. If you ever see a movie and a dog shows up in it, at one point, the dog will whine. They all whine all the time. And yet in real life, how often do you actually see a dog whine? It's really quite rare. It certainly does not happen nearly as often as Hollywood would have us believe. So every time I'm watching these movies or the TV show, a dog pops up, I start counting down how many seconds until it whines. 1, 2, and then, the dog starts whining every single time. Ooh, a bit of nature here. I'm back at the main road. Here's the main road again. And down here in the water, you can actually see quite a large school of fish. Some kind of fish up on the surface. Yeah, couldn't tell you what they are, though. All right, here we are back in Maysot proper, where we've left the Canal jungle. And a few blocks in this direction, I will find myself back at my guest house. I was just thinking about a bubble milk tea, and I happened to be passing this place. I've seen it before, and I think the name of it is the Hand Coffee Shop, which, it's quite clever. Have a nice day. Have a nice day. Spells out hand. And it looks like you can get bubble milk tea here for 19 baht. I've walked by it a few times, and I've always wanted to go in. So I think that is what I will do. Look. I didn't realize it, but I think here at Hand, it's kind of a self-serve, which I didn't know. So I just ordered my bubble milk tea at the counter and they made it for me. But it looks like you can do it yourself. So they have all of the displays here, and just follow the steps. Get your cup, then you get ice here, as much ice as you want, and then you select the kind of tea you want. I got the Taiwanese milk tea, and then you choose your bubbles here and add it yourself. Yeah, so it's actually a self-serve system, but I didn't realize that. So next time I will try the self-serve approach, see how that goes. But it's kind of better that they made it for me. I'm sure they know the proportions better than I do. I would definitely add too much or too little of pretty much everything. Anyway, I'm going to sit down here and enjoy it for a few minutes. Ooh, yeah, time to relax. They turned on the air conditioner for me, so it's going to get nice and cool in here quickly. My arm is still on fire. I find I'm really allergic to most plants, that brush up against me. Again, speaking a lot about my youth, when I was young, I suffered so much from poison ivy. I would just have to think about poison ivy, and I would just be covered in the most intense, poison ivy blisters. So itchy, it just about drove me insane. At night, I would have to sleep with a big bucket of ice water beside my bed so I could plunge my hands into the ice just to reduce the itchiness. Because even in my sleep, I would scratch, without realizing it. So there were times when I put on mittens. I'd have to wear mittens and then tape them sealed to my hands. And that was the only way I could get to sleep, because otherwise, even in my sleep, I would just scratch my arms and my legs to pieces. So I had to keep my hands covered up. So, yeah, I seem to be really sensitive to any plants. Yeah, here they had brown sugar bubbles or honey bubbles. And I wasn't sure which one I would like, so I got the honey bubbles. See if they taste any different. I think these are the normal bubbles, that they taste like all the other bubble milk tea that I've had here. So maybe honey bubble is regular, and the brown sugar maybe has a special flavor. All right. Just gonna settle in, enjoy my bubble milk tea, and I'll check back in later just to end the video as I head back to my guest house. I left the bubble milk tea shop on my way back to the guest house. Got to take a cool down shower. Pretty hot out today, got pretty sweaty walking along the canal. All those comments I made about my childhood and things like that made me think about a comment that someone left on one of my videos saying that it was time to update my 1980s style haircut. That made me laugh, because it really is true. I really have not done anything to my hair ever since high school. I mean, all I do is I go in, sit down in a barber's chair, and he says, how short do you want it? And then they cut it and I leave. And I end up with this look, and I've had the same look since high school, basically, which would have been back in the 80s. Just made me think about high school days, of course, because back in those days, most guys had kind of a hairstyle like this, where you feather your hair, and you feather it backwards. And guys would always have like a comb, in their back pocket. And it would be sticking out of their back pocket a little bit. And then as they're walking down the hallway in the high school, you could see them almost like a gunslinger, reach to their back pocket. The comb comes out, and then it goes back in their pocket. It's like every hour, out comes the comb, back, back in the pocket, you know, almost like I said, a gunslinger drawing a gun. And the master of this technique was actually a second cousin of mine named Craig Nienhuis. I believe his father and my father were cousins, which I guess makes us second cousins. But Craig, he was kind of from the cool side of my family. You know, he had the great hair, the perfectly feathered hair. He was a drummer in a rock band. His father was a bodybuilder, you know, real muscular, good-looking guy. And Craig was a good athlete, played hockey, even played hockey professionally. You know, he played for the Boston Bruins, I think for 2 years, maybe 1 year, maybe two, maybe longer, I'm not sure. But if you can play in the NHL in Canada, I mean, that means you're like Canadian royalty. So, and he went on to play professionally in Europe as well. So Craig was the cool guy in my extended family, you know. And I remember Craig, he was the master at the gunslinger comb. You know, I'd see him walking down the high school hallways, you know, with the perfectly coiffed hair, you know, with the feathered sides, and his comb could come out of his back pocket and back in within like half a second. It was just like lightning fast reflexes. Kind of like the Fonz maybe in Happy Days, you know. Anyway, I was thinking about that because of the comment about my hairstyle. So maybe next time I head into a shop here, I'll ask them if they can update it somehow. I don't know what that would mean exactly. What is a modern hairstyle? I think the guy continued in his comment and said that maybe short on the sides and longer on top, you know, that might bring my hairstyle up to date. We'll see if I can manage that next time I get my hair cut. Well, yeah, I enjoyed that walk a lot. That was, you know, better than I expected, actually. You know, I just wanted to explore a new part of the canal system here. And now I think I've pretty much seen almost all of it, you know, because I walked along the river canal as far as it would go, and then it just stopped there and became normal river. So I may have, I certainly explored all of it in that direction. There might be more of it in the other direction, but we'll see. But yeah, I enjoyed that walk quite a bit. Good bubble milk tea. And if you've seen my previous videos, you probably recognize this neighborhood. This is the street heading back to my guest house. Almost there. So I think I will end the video here and settle in for the afternoon. Like I said, take a cool down shower, maybe head out exploring again tomorrow, and I will see you in that video.